Let me read to you a passage from the 9th chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel, verses 27 to 31. It's the Gospel for Friday of the first week of Advent, Year A. And it gives us the prayer of the two blind men. St. Matthew writes, "As Jesus passed by, two blind men followed him, crying out, 'Son of David, have pity on us.' When he entered the house, the blind men approached him, and Jesus said to them, 'Do you believe that I can do this?' 'Yes, Lord,' they said to him. Then he touched their eyes and said, 'Let it be done for you according to your faith.' And their eyes were opened. Jesus warned them sternly, 'See that no one knows about this.' But they went out and spread word of him through all that land." That's from Matthew chapter 9, verses 27 to 31. And what does it suggest to us? Well, one of the signs of a great photographer is his ability to capture in a photographic shot something with a meaning far larger than the mere subject of his photo. A great and famous photo could be of a Vietnamese child running from a scene of fire and mayhem during the Vietnamese War, with terror and tears on her face. In the eyes of the world, somehow, the photo sums up the tragedy of war, setting aside any discussion of blame. Similarly, an artist may paint a picture that captures the spirit of an era or the legend of a person, such as a famous painting of a woman leading a mob action, the action of a mob during the French Revolution, or a romantic painting of Napoleon on horseback. I would suggest that similarly, the opening scene of our gospel passage today carries a resonance far beyond the mere scene. We read that as Jesus passed from there, two blind men followed him, crying out, 'Have mercy on us, Son of David.' Two blind men following along in the hopeless darkness, perhaps helping one another, perhaps depending on this or that person who is willing to guide them. What a picture this is of so much of human life in all its struggle. Consider what might have been the history, let us call it, of these two blind men. Perhaps they lost their sight. Perhaps they never had it. Perhaps they had been friends over a long period of time. Perhaps over a short time. Perhaps they lacked family or friends to help them. And in any case, here they clearly needed one another. Mankind is fallen as a result of the rebellion against God of our first parents. And the story of so much of human history is one of difficulty, struggle and misery, while containing so many achievements nevertheless. But much blindness and darkness hangs over the story of man, and he cries out for pity and mercy. It is this need for pity and mercy which fuels so much of religion, and which all too often, sadly, is not dispelled by religion. We might think of the religion of the Aztecs or the Incas and some of the appalling ceremonies which it entailed. It represented a cry for help amid a profound darkness. Yes, the cry for mercy and pity, "Have mercy on us," is the cry that rises continually and inexorably from the heart of mankind. It leads man to look heavenwards and beyond the clouds He searches the heavens, as it were, trying to see or hear an answer. And depending on his era or his locality, he thinks he hears this or that voice or sees this or that figure. All too often, much of what he hears or sees is basically a projection of his yearnings and his experience of man and life. But an answer has indeed come from the heavens, and it is magnificently clear and definite as an answer, one that has come from the very highest, from the Lord God himself. God has visited his people, and through his chosen people he has visited mankind and has chosen to dwell with man. God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, not to condemn the world for its willful and sad blindness and sins, but to save what was lost. Jesus is God's answer to the prayer of man for pity and mercy. And thus it is to Jesus that the two blind men cry out for mercy. He is the object of their petition. There is now a great light shining in the darkness, and that light is Christ. He is the light of the world, and to the extent that he is absent from the life of an individual or a people, to that extent does darkness prevail there. The greatest darkness is that which derives from sin, and modern man all too often lacks the sense of sin. His cry for pity and mercy does not touch the root of his blindness, which is his inherited and chosen sinfulness. Furthermore, he must learn where the remedy is found. It is found in the person of Jesus. It is to Jesus, the Son of David, that the blind men directed their heartfelt appeal. And so must we, and we ought do it every day of our lives. Our fundamental call is to holiness of life and the overcoming of sin. Apart from Christ, this is impossible. He is the one and only Redeemer of man. With him, the darkness of sin is dispelled, and the way to holiness in him is opened up. Let us place ourselves in the company of the blind men and appeal to Christ. Christ can be found. He can be pointed to and approached. He lives now and is very accessible. Where is he? He is to be found above all in his church, the church he founded on the apostles with Peter at their head. He dwells in his body, the church, and through the word and sacraments of the church, he ministers to us who so greatly need him, just as he ministered to the two blind men. So let us resolve to live in him, for if we live in him, we shall rise and reign with him.